boys and girls. Welcome back to the Commercial Real Estate Starting from Scratch podcast, episode number 6. With me, your host, John Kleisch. Check it out. 2 hands to show the numbers of episodes. Man, look at me. I'm moving on up in the world. Pretty crazy. But here we are. Cool update. Little bit overdue since I've been really swamped with my first deal. But we got our second deal, boys and girls. Unbelievable. We signed the deal August 15th, and today is already September 18th. So it's already been a month, which was absolutely crazy. Thank God this deal seems to be a lot more smoother for a lot of reasons. But so I want to go over a handful of different things, like what is it, how did I get it, and what's the plan with it. And I have some numbers I can share with you guys that I think will be really I wouldn't say entertaining, but informative, if you will. So what is it? It is an office building, 7,781 square feet. Technically, it's 2 suites. There is one 1,300 square foot office that is currently rented out for $1,300 a month. It's like got 3 or 4 offices in it. It's like a small financial firm or something like that. Honestly, I don't even exactly know. But that has been remodeled and it is being rented and they're paying rent and everything like that. So that is cool. The other portion of it, about 6,400 square feet. It's 2 stories, gorgeous staircase up there, but it is very, very outdated. The building was built in 1984 and it has definitely not been updated since then. It has green carpet, gorgeous trim everywhere. The color of it is just very outdated. We are going to keep that trim because it is I feel, a draw to the building. It gives it a lot of character when you walk in it, outside of it being updated. Once you look at all of the trim work, the crown molding and the desks that they have out there, the staircase too, fantastic. Looks awesome. So this particular one is in Sun City, Arizona, right off of the 101, and it's on Thunderbird, which is really cool. Major thoroughway. It's in an area that is very, I would say, medical heavy. There's a big major hospital, I think it's Banner, that is maybe less than a mile away. There's a bunch of medical suites, medical offices all up and down the block. Anyone from Phoenix knows Sun City is known for being a 55 plus community. So we're talking old folks that need a lot of medical care. So that's why this very medical heavy area overall. So overall, cool story with this one is this was a foreclosure. The former owner bought it October 10th, 2024. So not even a year ago. They bought it for $1.35 million. I don't know the story on what happened, but for that thing to get foreclosed that quick, I can't imagine they even made one payment. Would be shocking to me, or maybe they made a couple, but I mean, shoot, the thing was listed already for a couple months, so I feel like they foreclosed on that really, really quick, which is just kind of strange. I'm not sure what happened there. It looked like that law firm was in business for a very, very long time based on the files and everything that was left behind. So working with the foreclosure, obviously there's motivation there. So that was the first part of the conversation that sparked my interest. How did I find this thing? Just off Craigslist, literally looking through Craigslist, scrolling through all of the thumbnail pictures and saw this building, looked like it was a little bit outdated, saw the pictures and was like, oh yeah, this puppy is vacant and outdated. I like it. So I called the agent right away, spoke to him a little bit about it, got the scoop that it was a foreclosure. So automatically that thing went on my list of hot properties. And spoke to him, got a little bit of information on it, doesn't really know much about the property. The broker didn't really have much. The bank doesn't really know much. So the conversation was very just surface level, finding out what's going on, what's the deal. Okay, that tenant is there. Okay, cool, very good. And then honestly, I was busy with that grand deal, so that kind of just went by the wayside. I kept it on my list, revisited it once in a while. Talked with John about it, and then probably like a week or 2 went by of me actually even, for me making that first broker call to then I think he followed up with me maybe or something like that. And I got with John on it and I was like, hey man, this one, the broker seems pretty hot and heavy. It's a foreclosure. I think this one's worth really looking at. So we spent some time and quickly was like, hey, just offer 500 grand on this thing and kind of see where it goes. So we didn't really look at it much in depth, but just basic look at it. I think it was listed for like 800, 900, probably 900, maybe even a million. I forget exactly where it was listed at, somewhere up there. And so I just called the broker and said, hey, you're not going to like the offer, but this is what we're working with. And he said, oh, okay. Want me to write up an LOI? Yeah, absolutely. Write up that LOI. I don't even know if he actually did write it up and sent it over. But shortly after that, he called me and said, hey, I got a counter offer from the bank at, it was it 700? I believe it was around $700,000. And that's when I knew I was playing ball. I got really excited with that because they came off of their listing price by quite a bit. So once he came back and said, "Hey, I'm sorry, they came back at 800." So it was listed at 900,000. They came back at 800,000, and that's when I knew I was still playing ball because they were willing to even a $500,000 offer. Almost half of their list price didn't piss them off. So I knew that was a good sign. And at that point, I called John Heisler and said, "Hey, bud, they countered at 800." He said, go see this thing, because right now I was just basing it off of the pictures and everything like that. So once I knew that they were playing ball, it was totally worthwhile to go visit the property and meet the broker, which in the very beginning I was very hesitant to do because I felt like it was a waste of time. However, moving forward, when I am going to hunt for properties, I'm going to lean on meeting the broker there and actually walking the property for several reasons. One is just to get experience of walking these properties, see the different types, see the good, the bad, the ugly. Meeting these brokers in person would really help. Commercial real estate, I've noticed, is very relationship based, very heavy into relationships. So if you can go out there and meet that broker, that's a plus. But also too, just to get out there and experience more commercial buildings, because to be honest, I've so far visited two, and both of those have been under contract. So went out there, walked in, and kind of weird, but whenever you do walk a property, you get like a feeling about it, right? The exterior, I showed up a little bit earlier than the broker. I took a lap around the exterior. Everything was like nice and tight. It looked really good. It didn't look like the building was very disheveled. It is definitely needs a little bit of love on the outside, but it wasn't like it's dilapidated or anything like that. And the broker shows up. We go inside. There's actually a homeless dude living there. I think he broke into one of the bathrooms or something, and he had his garbage everywhere. And he actually had a bike and a sleeping bag inside. So I think what happened is he brought his stuff inside, and then for whatever reason, maybe the bank changed the locks or did something, and they locked his bike inside. But he continued to live out there, and now I think he's gone by this point in time. But that was always exciting. So broker gets in there, we open up the door, walk in, do a little bit of a quick tour. And right away, I knew that this building was very, very, very solid. Like I mentioned earlier, outdated. It's got green carpet. If you do want to see pictures, go check out my Instagram. I made a whole walkthrough video on that, john.kleisch at Instagram. Pretty cool. You'll see the entire walkthrough of the building, so you know what I'm talking about. But like I mentioned, just like the outside, everything was nice and tight. There was not like crazy drywall damage. The building felt really, really solid. That woodwork, I kept on saying the woodwork, the woodwork, the woodwork, because it's fantastic. The guy who ever did that back in the 80s did a bang up job. I imagine if someone was to recreate all of that woodworking today, it would be for sure well over $100,000, if not $200,000 worth of work. There's crown molding, there's different window dressings, real wood paneling on some offices. It's really, really fantastic from the inside. So I knew right away. The big question mark was there was an elevator in there, and elevators, if you know anything about them, can get very, very, very costly. Spending $100,000 on an elevator is very, very, very easy. And I know from John's experience and also talking with a handful of elevator people that I got this elevator checked out with well into the six figures. You could easily spend $200,000 getting the elevator up to date, which is just nuts. Obviously, can blow a deal. Knew right away that I was excited about this deal. The elevator wasn't a point of contention at this point. I really liked it. So we went back and forth a little bit. I came up to, I believe, $550,000. And then they came back at 700,000. And I was like, ooh, we're getting there. We're getting there. The broker alluded like, hey, this is pretty much where they're at. They're not really going to move much off of this 700,000, if at all. So then I talked to John again, and we were looking at this thing and like, man, I'm sorry, $200 a square foot to $225 a square foot. So that's putting us at like the $1.5 million mark. And we're buying this thing for 50% of ARV. Like that sounds like a pretty good deal already. So we looked at it again, and honestly, a lot of our conversations were just over text message. But he's like, "Dude, try to get this thing between 600 and 650." And then I put in an offer at I forget, to be honest, exactly where it was at. It was pretty low. It was maybe 615, 620, something like that. And then Tommy Moore, shout out Tommy the broker on this one, came back and said, hey, called me, said, hey, dude, 641, 45-day DD, 30-day close, and we're good. And at that point, I knew I didn't even need to call John back to confirm. I said, yeah, hey, write that thing up. We're good to go. And we got that thing locked up like 3 or 4 days later. So it's funny how that deal came to basically, I was never really, really excited about it until like the very, very end, because I thought it was just something that we were too far off. But Tommy, the broker, was, I think because I actually went to the property. He knew I was serious. He met me. We chatted for a little bit. He continued to follow up with me and press it. And sounds like he went to bat and talked to the bank, and the bank was like, all right, hey, we got to get this thing off the books. So I mentioned ARV prices on this thing. Comp buildings are selling for $200 to $225 a square foot. We're buying it for $82.38 a square foot, which is just pretty crazy. That's a pretty good deal there. And this one's going to be like way more smoother than the grand deal, because there's not really tenants, and well, there's one tenant, but they want to stay and everything like that. This is going to be a remodel heavy project for sure. So that's the exciting part. And so what's the plan with it? So we don't really exactly know, to be honest, at this point. Well, I do know that we are going to be remodeling it for sure. So the plan is to remodel this thing, get this thing up to snuff, and get the building, paint, interior, exterior. We're redoing the bathrooms. We're going to be redoing the break rooms. We are going to be redoing 2 air conditioning units and upgrading the elevator a little bit. We're going to be doing flooring. We're going to rip out that green carpet and put down, glue down LVP. And then once we get that remodel done, the plan is to list it for $1.5 million, which is right around that $200 a square foot mark. It's actually a little bit more than that, and then see if we can sell it. And if we can sell it at 1.5, that's an easy option to take, because it'll be north of $400,000 profit on that deal. And if, say, we can't sell it and we're getting offers in the 1.1, 1.2 range, then we'll just keep this thing and rent it out, because we're getting such a good deal on the front end on this one. We'll be able to refinance out pretty much all of our costs into this deal. So we'll be able to walk into a deal with basically $0 out of pocket. The cash flow is going to be somewhat decent. It's not going to be wild and crazy, but the other good thing is we're not going to have another equity partner on this deal. This is one that John and I will be able to split 50-50. So those numbers get a lot more appetizing when there's not a lot of different hands in the pot there. So on the remodel side, I am not very experienced in doing remodels. We've done like, I think, 3 or 4 actual real fix and flips before, and my partner Danny was the one that spearheaded that. So I was just kind of a bystander in there and just kind of learned by osmosis, if you will. So it's definitely not my strong suit. So what I did, access was a little bit tough on this building. It was hard to get the broker lined up with all of my contractors. So I did a 1 day showing with all of these contractors. And literally what I did was just reached out to people that I knew that did remodels, asked them if they had anybody that does flooring, paint, etc., everything that I was looking for. And then a bulk of my contractors I found on Facebook Marketplace. And what I did was just typed in flooring, looked at what they had to offer. I wanted to see a handful of different jobs. I wanted to see a long standing relationship on Facebook, and I was like looking at the reviews because they allow you to do some reviews. So I didn't just go with anybody. I found people that had good online reputations, and then I messaged about 5 or 6 different contractors for each trade. And the ones that got back to me the quickest, obviously, I was more interested in those. And if I liked that conversation, I liked how it went, I then gave them a time and said, okay, hey, on Monday at X time, come out and get me a quote. And what I did to keep everything organized, I had a spreadsheet of all of the different names of the people, what type of contractor they were, and then when they were showing up. And, shame on me, I do feel bad about this after the fact, is that I gave everybody a 15-minute time slot. And I realized that that was not nearly enough time. So there was times where there was 2 or 3 different flooring contractors there at the same time. That's awkward, right? If you're a contractor, you show up and you're seeing your competition there. A little bit weird. I do feel bad about that. I had a handful of GCs coming to that way to see if I could basically not have to sub everything out myself and just hire a GC. So there was a couple different GCs there. And honestly, I think I ticked off a couple of them because they never even got back to me with a quote. So fully understand that. That was my mistake, but I just wanted to get everybody in there at that one time because I learned my lesson with Grand Avenue. Going back and forth, 3-4 times a week is very arduous, and it's a complete waste of time. So I guess next time I'll dedicate a whole day and give every contractor at least maybe like a 45-minute window or something like that. But the good thing is that I was able to spend 3-4 hours there, and I was able to get a lot of different bids. A lot of people showed up very not impressive. They smelled like alcohol or just smelled like BO or whatever, and didn't want anything to do with them, which was great. A lot of the guys were very, very impressive. They were able to show me their work. They were able to speak intelligently about it. So that was a really good experience overall. I have about 2 contractors on each trade that I like that we still haven't made a decision. We still have 11 days left on due diligence for this one. So I'd like to have that kind of wrapped up when due diligence is over. Now, we have $6,000 of earnest money down on this one, so it's not terrible. Now, the big factor, we've done enough DD on the property, the area, the comps, everything like that. We know that's a great deal for the deal itself. Now, the only question mark is capital, right? That's been a big sticking point for all of our deals now. This one's a little bit interesting because we will use a hard money loan for the purchase. However, they're lending up to like 60 to 70% of the cost of the property. And that leaves, an extra $150,000, $200,000 that we would need to come up with for the down payment. And then our rehab is going to be just about that $200,000 mark. So we're right around that $400,000 need of capital, right? So this is one that we could raise as debt and pay an investor just like, some points and 12% interest only. And they can just have their payments come in that way. Or if the investor was wanting to do some equity, we're definitely willing to do some equity splits on this one. For us, doing just debt would be much better because that way, if we did retain the property, that's something that we could just keep in-house ourselves. Now, from a lending standpoint, the debt is a lot less risky, in my opinion, because if this deal does go south, right, that lender is they're due their note, they're due that interest, as if they're an equity partner and the deal falls apart and it breaks even or something, they get nothing. Now, they will be second position because the hard money lender will be first position on that note. So that is another thing that the investor will have to be aware of and comfortable with. So that is, I guess, the only main sticking point right now is the capital piece of it. So before we get into that, I do want to share the numbers here on the remodel and everything like that. I was able to put a sheet together of everything kind of broken down. And most of these are accurate estimates. There are some that I didn't get exact stuff on, but I'm well versed enough to know that I'm pretty close on some things here. So tenant one, 1,300 square foot, no remodeling required there at all. Tenant two, 6,481 overall. And we were getting flooring quotes, of 30 grand to 45 grand was pretty much standard here. The guy I liked the most was at 35, and interior paint came back at 45, and I was getting quotes about half. So paint totals me 60 grand. I got quotes at $30,000. Now, the main reason that I'm keeping the high guy in here is that trim. That trim's going to need a lot of work and a lot of attention. And I feel like if we just went through and just sprayed over that trim without a lot of prep work, it's just going to look like booty hole. And seeing as though that's going to be like the main focal point of this project here, I did not want to really skimp out on that. So hopefully I can work with that painter and work him down a little bit, because I mean 60 grand is a lot in paint for sure. If I can shave off 10 grand, maybe 8 grand or something like that, that would be better. So the elevator, this was great news. The elevator, hey, it was hard to find some people that worked on elevators. It was easy to find people that did residential elevators, but if you do commercial elevators, you're not marketing or anything like that. All of these guys had the junkiest websites. So what I did was finally called back all of those residential people that said, no, 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 I only do residential. I said, hey, who does commercial elevators? And I got a list of like 5, 6 people. I went down the list and spoke to people until I found some people that I liked and got them out there. They checked it out. And the good news is we have a Dover elevator. Long story short, it was original 1984, but the thing's fantastic, high quality, very simple, no thrills. There's a whole elevator room with all these boxes and crazy things and motors, and goes up and down. What's crazy that I learned that I think was pretty cool is this is a 2-story elevator, so there is a shaft, like this big metal shaft, and they dig a hole into the ground and put like a sleeve into the ground, and that literally goes brrr, and it goes down deep into the ground, and then when the elevator wants to go up, it pushes a bunch of hydraulic fluid and it raises it just via that shaft there, which I thought was really cool. But elevator's in great shape. It's not leaking. Nothing's wrong with it. It does need a little bit of updating, and the when you have an elevator, and back in the day there was like you had to slap that thing or stick your arm in there and hit it for it to realize that something was going to get caught in that door, so then it would open up that way. Nowadays they have these laser sensors where it's just if you stick your hand in there and it gets close enough to the door, it'll open it up. That was highly recommended. Another cool thing I learned about elevators is the code starts with the inception of the elevator. So this thing was put in there in 1984, so it goes by the 1984 code or whatever the newest code was at that time. Now, if you were to upgrade your elevator, I forget exactly what, but if you upgraded the motor or something like that, or the cab, then you would have to get updated to the newest terms, which is like 2019 code or something like that. So that was interesting. He's the gentleman that told me, hey, if you wanted to upgrade everything on this thing, you're talking about $150,000, $180,000. Woo, no, thank you. I got $5,000 in elevator. The only things that we're going to need is that laser system, which was $2,700. And then you are going to need to have the phone system hooked up to the elevator, which was no big deal. So $5,000 probably is an overshot, but at least that's right in that ballpark there. There are 2 bathrooms there. I did not get exact quotes on that, but I'm talking, dude, we're going to go to Floor and Decor and get vanity, mirror, toilet, right there. That's an overestimate right there, but you know how things work. I like to be on the heavy side. There is a break room, which I put kitchen here. That is just going to need a handful of cabinets, a sink, and then we're good. Door hardware, about $4,000 to change out all the door hardware. It's all brass and not going to fit the style that we're doing. Landscaping was a guess. I didn't get any quotes on landscaping, but we're just going to throw some rock down and some cactus on the outside to spruce it up a little bit, get rid of that grass and whatever dirt is there to make it look a lot more pretty. Roof's in great shape. We were able to get on the roof. It's a foam roof. It looks awesome. There's no pitting. It definitely looks a lot newer. I have no idea how old it actually is, but it's in great shape. There are two huge units up top, which are like these big old trains, and they're from the 90s. But we had an AC guy go out there, shout out Clint, with Signature Air. They are in great shape. They fire right up. They're full of Freon. Fantastic. Those were like 7.5 ton units. I think they're like 25, 30 grand a piece. So there's 5 AC units total, which was great news at the roof, and the big AC units were all good. There are 3 AC units on the ground, 3 split units. One of them is in great condition for the tenant number one, and then there are 2 older ones for the tenant two, for the bottom floors that are just not that great. They're old. They use the old Freon. It's very expensive. So we're just going to go ahead and replace those. That's an exact quote, $26,130. Added some miscellaneous costs of about 20 grand because you know how that goes. It's always, you're always undershooting your budgets. I've never done a project and it came under budget. So I've learned my lesson. Total rehab, $186,130, which we thought right off the clip it was going to be about 150, and it still might, depending on those bathrooms, the kitchen, and that miscellaneous and stuff like that, to see how those come in. But $186,000 gets us. There's no way we're going over budget. I hope that we don't, because I'm stating it here. We're not going over budget on this one. $186,130. Only time will tell. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition, but I got a feeling. Money costs are going to be about $110,000. So we're going to need here for this about 300 grand, not including the down payment. So the numbers here, valuing this thing about $200 a square foot, which I feel really, really good about, especially considering the building in this condition sold last year in October for, literally 11 months ago, sold for $1.35 million. Right, 1.55 seems very, very, very reasonable. All the comps are way higher than this, but they were also built a little bit newer in like the early 2000s, so maybe that's got something to do with it. Could not find an older building in the 80s that was sold. $200 a square foot. I feel really good about that. So the purchase price on this thing, $641,000, $186,000 rehab. Money costs at $110,000. Selling costs, realtor fees, concessions, closing costs, $124,496. And that number doesn't really actually make sense. But I guess we can add that up real quick. The building cost, everything, boom. There we go. Total cost, $1,061,626. So overall, that gives us a profit of $494,574. So if we are able to pull this off, this would be great. That's why I mentioned selling this thing. If we were able to sell that at 1.55, I think that's a no-brainer. This project should take me 2 months of remodeling. Maybe 3 months is going to be probably more realistic because, frankly, I have really not much experience in the rehab world. So everyone was telling me the big things are paint and flooring. Those guys wanted 2 to 3 weeks each. So that puts us at 6 weeks. We could do the landscaping in the meantime. The bathrooms can get done kind of after they get those areas done. So I'll be trying to move everyone along as quickly as I can and make sure that this does get done as quickly as possible, because on this note, we're going to be paying about 8-9 grand, close to 10 grand a month in interest. So every month that we're able to get this thing moved along through the pipeline, the better for us. Is basically saving 10 grand per month there. So that's pretty much a good solid recap on this building. I'm really excited about this one. It is going to be a lot easier than the Grand Avenue one, for sure. That one has been, oh my God, that's just going to, it's been taking years off my life, absolutely already. This one should be a lot smoother than that, and hopefully everything goes as planned and we actually are able to close on this one. Fingers crossed. I really would like to get this one through the pipeline. Getting 2 deals in the first, I got my first deal in 5 weeks. My next one came a couple weeks after that for 7 weeks, and these 2 deals have consumed my entire, basically, last month. Is all I've been doing are these 2 buildings here. So it'll be nice to get these 2 through the finish line, get them through the pipeline, get everything working so I can go hunting again. I have not been calling brokers at all for the last month, 5 weeks maybe, because I've just been I couldn't handle another deal right now to begin with, which is a lie because I just actually made an offer on 3 gas stations. But very overwhelmed, very nervous, very excited, got a lot going on, but haven't been able to really spend the time on looking at new deals, which I'm getting very excited about because I haven't done that in a long time, and that is my favorite part of the business. Overall, we went over my Thunderbird deal, how I got it, what it is, what we're going to do with it, what's our plan with it, and everything like that. So as this one goes through the finish line here, we have 14 days or 11 days before due diligence is up. So hopefully by then we have some money commitments or at least some good feelings about it that we are able to bring this thing to the finish line, because I would love to get this project done based on the numbers you guys saw how that ended up. So appreciate you guys. Follow me here through the end. Follow me on Instagram, john.kleisch. Like this episode. Leave me a review. And if there's anything else that I'm not covering that you guys would like to hear, by all means, please let me know and I'll go over it all. Thanks again. Take care.